Well, the violence in Haiti has reached its third week. The gangs that have been terrorizing Haiti are not backing down at this hour. In fact, they are threatening to massacre a large portion of the population. Of course, this comes as the United Nations, according to the United Nations, more than 600 people were killed in Haiti in the month of April alone. Dan Cohen has been tracking this story for us and following it very closely. Dan, what is happening there?
Well, Clayton, it's an absolutely brutal situation in Haiti. So, after the first several days of this Bwa Kale phenomenon, where regular citizens are forming essentially self defense brigades in order to uproot or attack gangs, the gangs are now daring them to come after them in their bases and have even taken hostages. There are a few videos that have emerged of these hostage situations, so they are disturbing. Be forewarned.
Wabo ki pou men. Sinon ki pou men. On est moun fou ba ou non men gadi. Men. Men ouais. Na bibi. Men ouais. Men. Vous sinzi n'a tué. Ça ka fen ba tué. Aba gedon. Men. Men ouais. C'est ouais. Wabo ki pou men.
Now, another video has emerged that shows gang members executing what appear to be regular people, perhaps that have taken part in the Bwa Kale movement. We're not going to show the moment of the shooting, the execution, but this is indeed happening. Now, that first video that we saw appears to be of the 5 Seconds gang, which is part of the criminal alliance known as the JPEP. And the 5 Seconds gang is led by a guy called Izo. His nickname is Izo.
Welcome to another RBN Live special. And I call it a special because we do have a special guest. And by the way, I forgot this part. I am your host for today. I'm CJ, or J in real life. And CJ stands for Compton J, as I'm known on social media. And as I was saying, we have a very special guest today. He's been on a network before. What were we talking? Yeah, I think we were talking about Haiti then. But it's that guy you see on the screen right there. And let's bring him in right now. Actually, let me give him the proper introduction. But before I do that, this particular story that we're going to be talking about today, this is a story that I was completely unaware of until, of course, I heard this from Dan or Dan's account, Dan's tweet. So this may be a story that you are completely unaware of. So make sure you take a second to listen to this particular story. We have other stories, but this is the one I'm starting with because it's very, very important. Now, let's get to the introduction of my guest. He is a correspondent for the Redacted Inc. and a journalist for Uncaptured News, filmmaker filmmaker Another Vision, and he's a journalist to me. I don't see that on your profile, but I'm going to include that. So this is Dan Cohen. How you doing, Dan?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for considering me a journalist. I appreciate that.
Well, your filmmaking is the storytelling is telling a story of news that people aren't aware of. So that's why I kind of consider it journalism. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all journalism. It's all journalism. It's
yeah,
yeah, it's all the same.
Absolutely. So tell us. I know you're working on the documentary or have a documentary you've been working on. Can you give us the latest on that before we get into the story that we're for this segment?
Yeah, no doubt. That film is called Another Vision, and now we published it. I don't know, probably 6 months ago, maybe in like November. Yeah, end of I think beginning of November of last year. It's called Another Vision Inside Haiti's Uprising. It gives a lot of the background to the current moment, and it focuses on on an armed neighborhood self-defense group, federation of armed groups, called the G9, which the G9 family and allies, And it's kind of actually a similar iteration in a way of what's going on uh, right now with this whole Bwa Kale movement of people like taking up, arms to defend themselves against gangs. Um, but yeah, I mean, the documentary is 3 parts. It focuses on the rise of the most prominent um, uh, armed anti-crime leader in the country. His name's Jimmy Cherizier, and he's very demonized in the media. If you Google him, if you watch like Vice sort of documentary
Mhm.
propaganda, you get the idea that he's the biggest killer, and so it's actually the opposite. Um, and we go through and show how the NED, the National Endowment for Democracy, CIA, media arms created this narrative, and it was the very same figures who were involved in the 2004 coup against President Aristide, um, that are involved in creating this image of Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier as a bad guy. And our documentary, just we examine all the evidence. We show his rise, how he's a former cop, how he went from a cop to like a would-be revolutionary leader, what he's seeking. So yeah, that's the documentary. So I really encourage everyone to check it out. It'll really help you understand the current moment in Haiti and just what's going on in general, and how the U.S. in particular is interfering, is like planning to just maintain the condition that it's in.
As they always do. And that documentary is called Another Vision, for those that wanted to know
Yeah, it's
the
on.
name. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
you can find it on my channel, Uncaptured Media. It's on there. It's on my Twitter in my links. It's linked in there. There's 3 episodes, about 2.5 hours of documentary, but we leave no stone unturned.
Wow, that's that's amazing. So being in the filmmaking industry pre-pandemic, I sort of understand the sort of work that goes into something that, for you to get a finished product of 2 hours and some. I know you've shot so much more footage that's just didn't make it. Is there plans for some sort of like you know extra cassette? I'm sorry. I think, did we lose Dan? Yeah, we lost Dan. So when he gets back, we will add him back in. There he goes. All right, so not that one. We'll add the real Dan back in.
My bad.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. It happens to me too. So if it happens to me, just know I'll be right back
All right.
too, because this could be the StreamYard thing that we were talking about earlier. But anyway, could you talk about? We saw the intro video. Now, for a person that has never heard about sort of what we're going to be talking about, and that's this movement here.
Yeah.
Have never heard of this. Can you first tell us what is the dynamic that has been going on? I know you mentioned the your documentary, but briefly give us sort of close to when this began to happen. What was sort of happening that was the pivotal point to make people finally say, we've had it? Like, was there an incident or what? Tell us, give us, paint the picture of Haiti during that time.
Well, I mean, Haiti has been increasingly ruled by gangs. The state has weakened over the decades thanks to the U.S. That's how neoliberalism basically guts the state, so can't really govern, and all of the institutions along with it, including the police. So basically, people have been living in a situation of total insecurity. There are armed criminal groups all over the place, who will grab people off the street or take a whole bus, like a public transport bus of people, and take them hostage, and then extort their families or whatever, and if the families don't have money, they kill them. There are massacres. There's really gruesome violence. We show it in our documentary how gangs, kidnapped a young girl and set her on fire and killed her. She ran away and escaped, burning. We showed how they dismembered another young guy that they caught on the street for being from the wrong neighborhood. So, I mean, that's the level of terror people are living with. And that's just, obviously a couple of little examples of it. There are massacres of 20, 30 people at a time. So the police have been totally incapable of fighting against them because of the corruption in the state. The gangs are really heavily armed. They have like modern, military grade weaponry. And so basically it got to a point, I think, where people just have no choice. There's been talk about a foreign intervention, which people don't really want either, but they do want someone to get rid of the gangs. And so this kind of popular uprising against these criminal groups. Well, what happened was the first incident in a neighborhood called Canapé Vert, where a bunch of people gathered outside a police station where some gang members had been taken in. They saw them being taken in, and they went and pulled them out and stoned them and beat them to death, and then set their bodies on fire. They get tires, and the reason they're doing this is because, with that level of kind of spectacle, is they're doing it intentionally in order to send a message to the other to the other gangs. And it's not really a perfect a method of justice. What they do is like they get someone who they suspect, they interrogate, they look for evidence. And then if they do find evidence and extract a confession, then they kill them. And I mean, they'll cut their heads off, that kind of thing. So a lot of people, I think it's easy to be like turned off by the spectacle of violence that we're hearing about suddenly. But, it's like kind of the same as, you never hear about like Israeli violence, but you constantly hear about like Palestinian violence or something like that, where people are just suddenly shocked that, oh my God, how could they launch rockets and this happens? Or I mean, granted, this is an internal thing, but the gangs in Haiti are sponsored by the political class. They're tools of the political class and the oligarchs that are tied to the U.S. So
what is the outcome, the interest, the return that the oligarch class has in these gangs? Like what is their return? What do they get out of the gangs doing anything for them, whether it's this or anything else?
Well, it keeps things it keeps people from being organized, and it maintains
divide and conquer.
Yeah, exactly. It maintains a level of exactly divide and conquer and instability and precarity. And so the violence is useful, and it has political goals. And sometimes it might just be that some oligarch hires a gang or whatever to kill a rival or burn down a rival business or this or that. But I mean, the most prominent gang members, they basically have all taken money from, and they're all tied to like powerful interests. So it's like ISIS in Syria, is not just like some phenomenon outside of politics or whatever. Like they were backed by Turkey and Saudi, you know what I mean? So the same way you have these criminal groups that occupy these different neighborhoods. And there's an alliance of criminal groups called the GPEP, which means G people in English. And you can, like, the most prominent one, his name is Izo, who I mentioned in that report. He's pretty much enemy number one right now. I mean, that guy has kidnapped tons of people. He's murdered tons of people. And he's just sitting there. And like, same with all those guys. They're not under U.S. sanctions. They're not, the U.S. never really talks about them. The biggest criminals don't get talked about. They only talk about the guy who they're fighting against, which is Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier and his group, the G9, which is an anti-crime group. So there's like, it's like very similar to the Black Panthers. They, provide for their neighborhoods, they protect, they have, social programs. They kick out criminals, but they get targeted for that. That's who the enemy of the U.S. is, and they use those criminal gangs to target these neighborhoods and to keep people down. And those criminal gangs are who this Bwa Kale movement is targeting. So there's kind of a the formation of the G9 back in like 2020, and this Bwa Kale movement right now are kind of parallel in a way. They're both fundamentally self-defense groups. One is just more organized and is armed groups, and the other is like a totally spontaneous, leaderless movement of just people who have had enough. So, yeah.
I was just playing a little bit of footage I found on Twitter. And I can read the caption, but I think we can all see what's going on. They obviously have somebody who they don't like here. And this is a masses of people. So are they going around seeking out gang members? Is that what's happening?
They go and attack them in their bases even. So what they do, so basically when the first incident happened, one of the most interesting aspects of this is the police joined in, because the police, fight the gangs, but there's also a ton of corruption, and they're a tool of the state, so they don't do it very effectively. But there are cops who really, do want to get rid of the gangs. And so, like the rank and file, the political leadership does not. So anyway, you have this, the people and the police, like there are videos where people are accompanying like 100 people going, walking alongside with an armored vehicle going to confront gangs. And then the idea is like the gangsters can't kill all those people and the police, right? So there have been some really fierce gun battles. But what's happened, like now the police there are rumors that the police are being like pulled back from the political leadership. So yeah, that's I mean it's an interesting dynamic between the people and the police.
Why are some of the people, and this could be tied to the United States, some of them are being called paramilitary? Why are some of the people this movement who are the people who they are attacking, some of the videos refer to them as paramilitary groups?
I didn't see that, but that's, I mean, there are none of what you could call paramilitary groups that are there. There were some reports that one group has participated, one armed group has participated in some of the Bwa Kale stuff, called Shemeshan, and that group fights against the most heinous criminals, like a group called the 400 Mauzo, which kidnaps Americans and Canadians. So maybe there is some paramilitary. I mean, if you could call that, I wouldn't call it a paramilitary. It's an armed group, but perhaps that one. But I've seen no footage of it, and the vast majority. I mean, even if there is any involvement from that group, the rest of it is just regular people who are taking rocks and machetes, and they don't even have guns. So it's just overwhelmingly a popular movement. And, from what I've seen, everything I've seen, Haitians overwhelmingly approve of it. They're excited because it's like fighting back against the people who are just plaguing the country.
That is so very interesting. Now, I do want to go to one of this one here. It was May 4th. You posted this, and it says, quote, freedom or death. Could you explain like what's happening in this video right here, and kind of, I won't put the sound on. I'll just let you tell us what this is.
Well, there you can just see people are taking machetes. It's not like they have they don't have guns, and they're going to confront people with guns. So they're bringing a knife to a gunfight, which just shows the level of, commitment, how bad, I mean, they're, maybe they're going to go with the police. I don't know. But, there was a viral video of a businessman in one city, begging, asking the diaspora to send money so they could buy, like, I don't know, thousands or maybe tens of thousands of machetes to fundraise. So it's a real, like, honestly, I think it's actually a real potentially revolutionary moment, because it's like popular uprising against the system. It's just like, will it go higher? The question, I think, is, will it go higher than these gangs? What the police will do, and will it go to the level of the oligarchy that it controls the gangs and maintains the status quo and that kind of thing. So it's a really interesting moment. There's actually, I mean, I can tell you this. There's one of the questions I've gotten is what the position of Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier and the G9 is on Bwa Kale, because if they're this, they say, oh, if he's this revolutionary leader, why isn't he saying anything? And I was part of a conversation yesterday between Haiti Liberté, who I collaborate with, and Cherizier, and his position was basically like, he endorses it. He wants to endorse it publicly. He and another leader, but there are 9 guys, and so there are 7 others that are afraid, because they've been so smeared. The G9 has been so smeared in the media because of this incredibly successful State Department disinformation campaign that we show in our documentary, that then the media will attack Bwa Kale, the Bwa Kale movement, and say it's exactly what you were asking about, why they call them
okay, now I
paramilitaries.
understand.
So they want to.
I mean, Barbecue and his crew has been so smeared, and they don't want to be attached to this. Not the other way around. At first, I thought you were saying the movement has been okay. So that makes,
you got it.
That makes more sense.
They don't want to sully the movement. They're. It's like Barbecue. Actually, he agrees with me. I have the same position as him, that it's like, you should say something, because this is a real revolutionary moment, and it's totally leaderless and spontaneous and can kind of disappear at any point.
They need something, they need that, and that leader,
yeah, exactly. So but the majority in the G9 say, like, well, we don't want the media to attack it, so it's a democratic process inside the G9. It's not like Barbecue is just forcing the issue or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's but it could kind of die out at any moment. It's hard to say. But there's there are those hostage groups that I don't even know what's going on with them. Those videos just appear on Haitian Twitter and social media of these groups taken hostage. And these guys saying, it's like 50 people. What if I kill them all? That kind of thing. What are you going to do? There's also there were major police operations, apparently accompanied by swaths of the population, to the neighborhood controlled by that guy Izo, that criminal who I mentioned. And it's so I haven't heard anything about what the latest is that that they've gotten him or anything like that. But if they're really going to get rid of these gangsters, one, there's a lot of them, and they're really heavily armed. Secondly, if they just get rid of the gangs, but not the system that creates that and funds them and arms them, then it's just going to be another round that comes up. It'll be some other guys that emerge. So it's a lot remains to be seen what's going to happen here, obviously, but it's a pretty interesting moment in Haiti.
Absolutely. And this is an article you wrote. An anti-gang uprising erupts in Haiti, and so they're being labeled gangs, but they're sort of an anti-gang organization. And let me read just a snippet from your article. A spontaneous and leaderless national uprising called Bwa Kale. Is that how you say it?
Bwa Kale.
Bwa Kale. That makes sense. Yeah. Bwa Kale. Literally meaning peeled wood. It refers to the tool used in a severe form of corporal punishment in some Haitian homes, and reflects not only the will of its participants to identify, catch, and kill the violent criminals who have long terrorized the country with kidnapping, extortions, and murder, but also to employ the criminal gangs same gruesome methods of violence against the population. Indeed, the spectacle is the point, seeking to strike fear into the heart of their tormentors. So the point of their violence is to strike fear to so that gang members will tone down, to so that gang members will, like criminal gangs I should say, let's make that distinction, criminal gangs will sort of take a step back. Have you seen any evidence of anything affecting, or has it kind of been turned up? Like, what has been the reaction, sort of overall? I know you've kind of spoken to it a little bit, but if we can go in a little more detail about some of the gangs. I know they're kidnapping too, but have we seen like there being, like, the neighborhoods have been a little bit safer? Like, what has been sort of the results? Go ahead, speak on that.
Yeah, 100%. As soon as it started, there were no reported kidnappings until yesterday. So that's more than 2 weeks without a kidnapping, which is that's unheard of in Haiti recently. And then yesterday, what happened? And this is according to reports. This is what reports I get from Haiti Liberté, who's listening to Haitian radio all day because it's a Haitian outlet. So those guys are just tuned in, and they have people on the ground too in Haiti. Is that the police and people were bearing down on a neighborhood called Martissant, which is controlled by another JPEP leader called Tilapli. Again, local criminal leader who runs a neighborhood, who just controls that area. And he, as he was, being attacked, apparently, the police gave some order from the top to pull back. So the rumor was that the U.S. must have intervened, in the police political command, or in the police command, to tell them to pull back. There was some kind of, the rank and file of the police did not like it. So that's the last I heard. I haven't, really gotten an update today, but so that's not confirmed that, that the U.S. interfered, but the U.S. and Canada are definitely squeamish about this whole thing. They don't like it. The Canadians put out a statement I reported on where they said, basically that they disapprove. I can't remember the exact quote, but they disapprove of it. The Haitian regime that is, a tool of the U.S. and Canada has said that, don't, work with the police to hand the gang members over and they'll be prosecuted. But which is totally bogus, obviously, because there are gangs everywhere that are, they don't do it. So that's why, people have been pushed to this point that they're just killing gang members wherever they can. So, the powers that be are afraid of this. What's that? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is this speaking about gang members? In your article on Haiti Liberté, one viral video shows a man in front of a large crowd blowing a conch shell, which was used to summon the former slaves to battle. A woman chanting while banging a spoon on a pot has become the icon of Uprising. Another shows Haitians sharpening blades on the wheels, and we saw one where they were picking them up. So what are you sort of referring to in this part? Or could you, I read the article, but could you explain what are you sort of hearkening back to, the movement is sort of hearkening back to here? And that is the Haitian Revolution. If you could speak on how you can make that comparison.
Well, just in the sense that, for one thing, they're using the icons of revolution. You played that video of the guy blowing a conch shell, but
right.
It's the iconography, and and the same tools, the machete. That's all revolutionary stuff. So, and it just has that same kind of zeal. Like Haitians are, they kind of have like a, I don't know, they're, you know, the Haitians are revolutionary in the sense that what they achieved, no one else has achieved. They were the slaves that overthrew the masters and created a whole the first free republic, and then went on to spread that around the hemisphere. And so that kind of proud iconography really means a lot. And they're, and in the sense that they're also trying to cast off oppressors from above. I mean, yes, the gang members themselves are Haitians, but they're that system of gangs and chaos and kind of controlled anarchy is imposed from the outside.
Absolutely. And what I'm so crazy we haven't talked about this already, but what have the police, is there a police presence in Haiti? What is there been reaction? What is the, like, is it just, Wild West where there's nobody, no governing sort of police presence? Oh, hey, yeah, that's what you said.
Well, no, there is a police presence. There is a police presence. I mean, it's just very weak. The police, all of the institutions, not just the police, all of the institutions of the Haitian state have been gutted by the U.S., by the system imposed, by neoliberalism, which the U.S. has enforced at gunpoint on Haiti. So the police is one of them, where it's trained by the U.S., it's controlled by the U.S. from above, and they're unable. They just don't have the capacity to take on gangs that have gotten so strong. There's been talk for a couple of years about military intervention in Haiti at the UN Security Council, all initiated by the U.S. I mean, the U.S. has been talking about it. I've showed that extensively in my reporting. And they want to get it through the UN Security Council, but they can't because of Russia and China. When the UN went into Haiti 20 years ago, or slightly less than 20 years ago, after the 2004 coup, Russia and China were not what they are today, and so now they're blocking any resolution that the U.S. might try to put through. So essentially, the police. So now the talk is, well, how they couch it is, we have to reinforce the police, support the police, and that has all been code for military intervention in the country. And so the irony is that the U.S. and all these powers have been saying we need to reinforce the police, which are very weak, but they've been wanting to do that against the anti-crime federation, the G9, whereas the people ended up actually reinforcing the police, and they are doing it against the gangs. So it's, the police got reinforcements kind of ironically, like from the people, for the opposite reason. But now the police are, controlled. It's a political tool at the end, that's basically the situation. That tweet, by the way, is wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out. So this is the initial tweet that you responded to. And I was just I was trying to look up the account to see if this was like an official or something like that.
This is the thing. This is the thing, CJ. Like, Twitter is, when it comes to Haiti and like how really that shows how effective the whole State Department campaign has been, because this is like an ostensibly, like left-wing revolutionary account, anti-imperialist, and he's got something totally backwards that, like, anyone who pays attention to Haiti who's watching at least what's going on Port-au-Prince, is talking about gangs and armed groups and that kind of thing. Anyone should know. That's like saying like Hezbollah and ISIS are on the same side, or like, what I mean? It's like honestly, it's like confusing the Black Panthers with the KKK. It's like you got it completely backwards, So, that's just the level of bullshit that you see on.
And this is an anti-imperialist account. Anti-imperialist account.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just like a rightist pro-government militia known as G. Okay, number one, Ezo is not in the G9. Ezo, he's in the G people, the total opposite, group. Their enemy. Ezo is one of the worst criminals And oh yeah, there's my okay. So he a rightist pro-government militia known as G9. G9 is not rightist, nor is it pro-government. That's the lie of the NED of the State Department, that they crafted this lie that is totally prominent on like kind of people, I don't know, on like elite Haitian Twitter. I don't even know what to call it. And it's like the Trump Russia
Ruling
of
class. Okay.
it's like a Trump Russia kind of conspiracy where it's like, no, they're not they're enemies. What do you mean? Like the G9 was the group that held up. Well, okay, last November when the IMF and US imposed fuel price hikes on Haiti and basically meant nobody could buy gas except for the rich, and there was a huge uprising against it to say bring those prices back down, reinstate the tax breaks, the subsidies. There was a huge uprising, and the G9 went and blocked the fuel terminal, a main fuel terminal in Haiti. Okay, so then to force the government to put those back, to basically resist the U.S., the IMF, and the Henri regime. And then people say, "Oh yeah, he's a tool of the government." Like they had hardcore. There were major battles. I was there for the climax of that. I filmed it. I was like standing on a hill, where you can hear all the gunfire very closely. It's in my report. So people just don't want to deal with reality, and there's just this like moronic conspiracy theory that barbecue and the G9 are a tool of the government. And if you look at the record and you look at the evidence, it's all like, I've gone through it all. It's my documentary. It's part of the documentary. It's all bullshit. It's all lies, and it comes from the State Department.
This is so it seems weird that so many people or governments are so invested in this particular country. I don't know if it has any particular natural resources anybody wants to really, extract. It just seems like it's a vendetta that they have. Maybe it's because it's they overthrew slavery and outlawed it. Maybe that's the vendetta. Is imperialist countries are still upset about that, and so let's keep this in turmoil. But what say you about that? It seems like this is fights they're picking for. I don't know what the outcome doesn't seem like it gets them anything but the results of keeping this country in chaos.
Yeah, well, there's what you're saying is definitely true. Haiti has always provided a good example for the rest of the world. I mean, it was it's a vanguard nation in a lot of ways, because of the conditions it's subjected to. It breeds real revolutionary fervor, such extreme conditions. And so the 1791-1804 revolution that they overthrew slavery, their slavers, and they killed them. They cut their heads off. They then fought the French, they fought the British and the Spanish empires and defeated them all. And then founded the nation's first free republic, or the hemisphere's first free republic. And they're never forgiven for that. Like it's not like we got rid of like colonialism and, we just have capitalism now. So there's the same, there's neocolonialism, right? And so part of it, I think, is also, yeah, of course, there's resources definitely that the U.S. wants. The one people talk about a lot is iridium. But I think basically, the geopolitical strategy of the U.S. is like, well, you can't if you let one fall, it can create a domino effect. And there's always been a lot of kind of revolutionary activity in the Caribbean in general. And of course, you're very close to Venezuela and Cuba. So, the U.S. does not want to allow that to happen. And if you look at it on even bigger on the geopolitical kind of chessboard, with the bifurcation of the global economy, the away from China that the U.S. is undergoing, that the U.S. is pushing. They want it's especially important for the U.S. to have its sweatshop labor, which Haiti also provides. The cheapest labor, the most exploited labor, I should say, in the hemisphere, and that exists to this day. It may not be the heyday of it, but it's still there. And for the U.S. to kind of keep it in its pocket is important. I mean, the other thing about being a vanguard nation is, before the pink tide of the 2000s, the first in Latin America, the first progressive leader was Aristide. He was the first one of all of them, before Chavez, before Evo Morales, before any of them, Lula. And so Haiti is just always kind of ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. Like, sometimes I go there and I just think that's what they want for us. That's what they want to do to us here. It's the same thing, So for people to just live in those kinds of conditions, and it's like Gaza in a lot of ways. It reminds me of Gaza. They're both just very extreme places that breed revolutionary activity.
Absolutely. So I believe we can cut it there for you, sir. I appreciate all the time you've given me today, but as a father, I know that it's time to go. It's time for you to go pick up your kids. So that is something I do want to respect here. So Dan, tell people if you want to shout out your documentary again, where we can find it, and anything else you're working on, or just want to shout out and where people can find your work. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, check out the documentary at Uncaptured Media, on that YouTube, on my YouTube, Uncaptured Media. You can see I also did a piece when I was in Haiti in November. I did a piece for Redacted, like a 25-minute report from the ground on that whole battle for the fuel terminal that I mentioned. I did that. That's on Redacted. If you just look up my Haiti reporting, you'll find it. Dan Cohen, Haiti. You'll see it. It's in there amid some interviews. But just, you can see my work on Redacted, and I try to do as much stuff for Uncaptured Media, my little channel, as I can. So thanks a lot for having me, CJ.
Absolutely. And you can find the link to Dan's article in the description box. I don't know if I'll link any videos, but I will link. If you send me the link in the DM, I'll link that in the description box to your documentary. If you send me the link, I'll put that in there. So I'll put that in there, everybody, and I'll put you in the back, Dan. Thank you again, and you can check out whenever you're ready. Thank you again for joining. So I'll put, when he sends me the link, I'll put that in the description box. I know my voice sounds pretty kind of weird. I saw that comment. But this story has been, it's amazing, the stories that's going on in the world that you just don't hear unless you talk to people like Dan about those things. You just never hear about it. This is one of those stories. So I'll pop up some of your comments if you have any about this story. I do want to get to the thumbnail story, and that's just the killing of kids and women and people, or killing of people in the latest Israeli airstrikes, or one of them, I should say. I don't want to say the latest, because perhaps there's been more. And this is some of the footage that you're seeing from it. Like here, there's an article here from MiddleEastEye.net that we'll be talking about in just a second here. All right, so he sent me the link to his documentary. Let me see. Hang on a second here. All right, so I'm gonna put that link into the description box right now. So if you want to go check out, it's called Another Vision. If you want to go check out that documentary by Dan that he talked about, Another Vision, is now in the description box. You just have to go check that out. All right, so this will be a little bit shorter of a stream. We probably go about 90 minutes, so maybe another 45 minutes. There is a couple of stories that I do want to get to, but let's first get to some comments about the previous story. Let's see what people are saying. Right here. Oh, my eyesight. I got to read it on this side because on the screen it's too small for me. I hope I see RBN and Redacted News Crew do more collaborations. Put in some Garland Nixon, Lee Camp, George Galloway, and some more anti-war voices, and we have a big anti-war independent YouTube collabo. That's sort of what we're trying to do now, is to focus on doing collabs. So that's why you see the post duopoly left show, and then we're working on some other things that you see, the Wyatt and CJ show that's called The End of Empire. So that's another show. It's a collab. Nick is working on some collabs. I'm working on some collabs, and I'm not going to say who, but there's two of the collabs are in here. There's two people in this list of this comment that I'm working on putting on to one show, but I don't want to give away who that is yet. Exactly. I'll just give you a list. U.S. governments are Freemasonry Zionists. Now I have the barbecue broccoli somehow. Thanks. Talking about barbecue. Yeah, we did a story on him. We had Dan on. So it was several months ago. So it's I don't know, I'll find it maybe and put it in the description box. But if you go on our channel, you can search videos and just type in Haiti, and you'll see all the Haiti videos that pop up. That'll be one of them. Let's see. All right. I think I will now go to the next story. All right. So first, let's do some announcements. First thing, the Sabi and JB show will not be happening today. Sabi and JB show will not be happening today. That's the first sort of announcement that I can give you. We're sitting at about 115 likes. If we can push that to 150. So everybody hit that like button. Get us to 150. Here is our Substack. Join our Substack for notifications when we go live or when we drop clips. I think we dropped like 4 or 5 clips today. It was I think all of them are clips from our the Post Duopoly show with Heartlands Media and Due Dissidence. So if you missed the entire stream, you can go check out those clips that dropped today. I think there were 4 or 5 of them that dropped today. We have RBN memberships, and I think we have a new member today that I will announce, and then we'll get into the next topic. Here's our website. Check us out, Revolutionary Blackout Network. Here's our email, info@revblacknetwork.com. And then now let me go to that new member announcement, and then we'll get to the next story. But I believe it was all the way at the top. Here we go. Frank Johnson. Welcome, brand new member, Frank Johnson. Thank you for joining the community, sir. Yeah, Israel doing Israeli things, and that is for sure. So let me show you the graphic. So you see Dan there. Now let's show you the one without Dan. This is the topic. These 2 beautiful kids killed in recent Israeli airstrikes. So that is the next story here. And let's toss up a banner for this next story. And is Israeli airstrike kill children? Let's use children instead of kids. And we're going to show you the names and faces of some of those kids and victims. But let's start here. Israeli airstrikes kill children. And this article kind of refers to it. Heavy Israeli shelling in Gaza as rockets hit near Tel Aviv. This is as it's happening. And you can see some of the pictures here that you can see. All right, so let's now go to one of the videos. Here's the article that I wanted to show. In a statement on Wednesday, UN Secretary General Anthony Guterres condemned civilian deaths in Gaza as unacceptable and appealed for them to stop immediately. Oh, that helps. Like, is that really all you're going to do? We'll get to that article in just a second. Let me go to my bookmarks here. Oops. Which one? Hold on here. Let's make this smaller. Let's see where bookmarks are. There we go. Bookmarks. So here, let's start here. We can start at this one. It's not a particular order. I don't want to butcher their names, so you are able to see some of the names of the victims here. Hajar Khalil Shalah Batini, 4 years old, brother and sister, 8 years old. Then you have a 10-year-old, 17-year-old were killed by Israeli airstrikes early this morning as U.S.-sourced Israeli warplanes targeted residential buildings in Gaza. Just terrible. So let me copy this and put this in here. So let's go here and check this out. This is terrible. This is terrible. So, Israeli airstrikes kill 4 Palestinian kids in Gaza. These are the types of stories that we have to cover in order to peel back and get more people to see what the United States is funding and helping to execute. And then they put out some statement, bad Israel, as they keep funding the same thing. So our tax dollars are funding this. Just terrible. So let's read a little bit on this article here. Oops, opened up here. I'll zoom in a little bit here so everybody can see this better, including myself. Ramallah, May 9th, 2023, Israeli forces launched airstrikes across the Gaza Strip last night, killing 4 Palestinian children. Israeli forces targeted several residential buildings in Palestinian neighborhoods throughout the Gaza Strip around 2 a.m. on May 9th, killing 13 Palestinians, including 4 children, according to documentation collected by Defense for Children International, Palestine. U.S.-sourced Israeli airplanes killed, and these are the names of some of the victims here, and I'll go by with their first names: Hajar 4, Iman 17, in an airstrike in the Tafa neighborhood east of Gaza City. 2 missiles fired from U.S.-sourced Israeli warplanes killed brother and sister Ali and Mayar 10, Alley 8, Mayar 10, in the Al Rimal neighborhood of Gaza City. Quote, Israeli forces routinely use explosive weapons in densely populated civilian areas with complete disregard for the indiscriminate effects, said Ayi Abdul Itashi, accountability program director at DCIP. Quote, there is no safe space in the Gaza Strip for Palestinian kids and their families, and they increasingly bear the brunt of Israeli repeated military offensive, end quotes. Israeli warplanes targeted a 2-story concrete house on Martyr Amir Street in Al Tofa neighborhood east of Gaza City, killing 5 Palestinians, including 2 children, 4-year-old Hajar and her parents. Wow. Khalil and Lila, as well as their neighbor, 17-year-old Arman, and her older sister, Dania. 6 other Palestinians, including 3 children, were also wounded in the attack. Man, this is terrible. Oh man, this is terrible. So let's continue with some more receipts and part of the story here. I'm going back to the tweet 1 second here. So I have another tweet I did want to show. So there's that one. This one is an early. So this was May 9th. Now let me give you an updated version. It's from Middle East Eye. I thought I was following them. Am I not following them? I could swear they unfollowed me from them. Stuff is pretty disturbing. So let's watch this video. It says 6 children are among 28 Palestinians killed in airstrikes carried out by the Israeli military on Gaza in an offensive that began on Tuesday, which Israel dubbed Operation Shield and Arrow. Let's watch this video. That's the Middle East Eye. And then this one here kind of has all the younger people that were killed. They have 5 years old, 10 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old, 5 years old, 17. I can't see the number behind that one. It's covered up, but just terrible, just terrible. Palestinian children are the target bank of Israeli occupation. Israeli airstrikes claimed the lives of 7 Palestinian children and injured 24 others during the ongoing Israeli assault on Gaza. And that's pictures of the set. Oh, maybe I can see the number here. 17. 17. They rewrite it above here because it's blocked off. So here's Imran, they spoke of earlier. I believe These two here, brother and sister, Mayar, and Ali. I think that's all that's related. And the two other children, 10-year-old Layan and 5-year-old Tamim. 5-year-old Tamim. 17-year-old Yazan. 17-year-old Yazan. And this is one of I believe this is the one that was the brother and sister. Just at an event, you can see a picture of her here. And then also with her brother, as you can see, this is where we got the graphic from here. Just terrible. Now this one here, okay. So let's. Let's say. All right, so I'm good now. Let's leave a moment. Myril woke up this morning to find both her parents and brother killed by Israeli airstrikes. Israel's dawn bombardment killed 4 children and 5 women. This is from May 9th, so the number has been updated. How does the world justify sitting on its hands while Israel perpetrates such outrageous crimes? And so her support system is gone. She went to bed with everything, not, I wouldn't say being fine because it is Gaza, but at least the only adults that she feels secure with, and they're gone. But where's the outrage about these kids? It's fine to have outrage about, Ukrainian kids and any kids that's in harm's way, but where is the outrage about what's happening in Palestine? The trauma for some people. I think I won't play this with sound. Like, what is she supposed to do? What kind of life do you think she's gonna have now? Yeah, this is hard to watch. But I've been critiqued before that I don't cover these stories. But it is because I don't cover them all the time, because they are very emotional. They are very traumatizing. So JB is really good at covering very traumatic sort of stories. But yeah, we've been critiqued of that we stay away from stories like this. But this was one I just could not let. This is just one I could not let go by without speaking about it. All right, I think we will end the segment there. You see sort of what's happening. This is crazy. Let's go here. All right. So this is where we'll end this segment here. I can't do any more on this story. This is terrible. There is one more story, which is, I don't know if you know what's going on with the Prime Minister of Pakistan, but he was arrested in Istanbul. He's a former prime minister because of some shenanigans, of course, funded by the United States. So let's look at some of the reaction. So when we were initially going to do this story, it was only in the phase of, oh, let me take this down since we're switching up here. So when we were originally going to do the story, PM of Pakistan, oops. So former PM and arrested. Let's just do that. Former PM arrested. And then the protest that followed. So let's talk about that. And for this next segment, so this has been, so we had the first segment is about a movement. Then we talk about some of tragedy of the imperialist core and what they support in the genocidal state of Israel. And now we're sort of back to sort of a movement that's happening. And where are we here? 1 second here. Let's go to, actually, let's see if there's any updates because the protest is ongoing. So let me, before I go to videos I already have saved, let's go to anything that might be more recent, I should say, concerning this. So let's see. Wow. So, like I said, I can read this here. This tweet here kind of talks about some of the details. Pakistan's political turmoil has deepened as supporters of former PM Imran Khan vent their fury after this dramatic arrest by paramilitary troops in a major escalation of a year-long political standoff that has been the South Asia's country that has put the South Asian country on edge. And I think this person's from CNN, so you get the sort of slant of how he's describing it in that what I just read. But let's make this bigger and listen and watch. This is some of the protests that followed the arrest of this very popular former prime minister who was pretty much ousted. And of course, it was backed by the United States. I'll turn the sound off and you can just see some of what they're doing. They don't play over in this part of the world. They got some real revolutionary, like, people that's ready to take it to the fucking streets. We saw that in the other segment in Haiti, and now we're seeing it right here in Pakistan. We saw it in some of the protests in India also. So let's go to another clip, kind of see what this is about here. Let me put this up here. All right, so let's go to the next one that pops up. I can kind of go through the line since this is probably newer. So listen how this person describes it. Following the unlawful abduction of former Prime Minister Imran Khan, the military dictatorship in Pakistan is carrying out a series of brutal acts, including enforced disappearances, assassinations, raids on private homes, fake news, and attacks on peaceful protesters. This one here, flash. Pakistan Supreme Court has ordered former Prime Minister Imran Khan be released from custody. It's about time. The court said the obvious. Khan was illegally arrested. Instead, Khan was abducted by Pakistan's notorious paramilitary. That's from the New York Times there. This is crazy. Breaking. Pakistan's Supreme Court rules arrest of former Prime Minister Imran Khan illegal. Orders law enforcement to immediately release him. a response court not yet captured by foreign forces. Meanwhile, the streets of Pakistan are in flames following Khan's unlawful arrest. And this is just more footage of sort of what's going on. Like when you see people talking about we're gonna have a revolution at the ballot box, like Marianne Williamson, and then when you see people actually doing this shit, it's like so let me translate. He's saying, release the motherfucker, or we burning this shit down, bitch. This is a real revolutionary right here, though. But seriously, this is amazing to see what people are willing to do for what they see when they see their government or those in power just committing, thinking that they're just gonna sit back and let shit like this happen. They're like, no, motherfucker, no. Let's watch some more. Man, all right. Wow. Let's watch this one. This one's from a couple of days ago. We are watching the situation in Pakistan very closely. Pakistan is on the verge of civil war as chaos erupts following the arrest of former Prime Minister Imran Khan by paramilitary forces. The government has censored social media websites in an attempt to hide the police brutality. We could see, I can enlarge this, I guess. And शेलिंग शुरू कर दी पुलिस ने. That's Anonymous TV, and let's continue. And then we'll go get to the articles I have here. This is outside the Pakistan consulate in Dublin, Ireland. Supporters of former Prime Minister or former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan shouted out their demands for Khan's release. So this was a couple of days ago. I don't know what that's about. Pakistan is in turmoil as protests against the arrest of former Prime Minister Imran Khan continues. With reports of several casualties, the army has warned that violence will be met with full force.
Pitched battles outside police headquarters in Islamabad. As protesters clashed with police, former Prime Minister Imran Khan was presented before a temporary court set up inside the police headquarters. After several hours, the court ruled that Khan can be held for questioning for 8 days. He was arrested on Tuesday on charges of corruption and corrupt practices. Khan has also been indicted by a court for unlawfully selling state gifts he received from foreign leaders as Prime Minister.
There is unrest in the country today. The country has been thrown into further political instability. They have pushed this country towards a constitutional crisis.
On the second day, violent protests continued. Angry supporters of Khan stormed the state-run Radio Pakistan in Peshawar. There were clashes in the port city of Karachi.
We have only one objective, that a system of justice is established in this country. In our country, only privileged people get justice, but poor people have to struggle.
On Tuesday, protesters ransacked the residence of a senior military commander in Lahore and broke the gates of army headquarters in Rawalpindi. Today, the army issued a stern warning, saying it would retaliate for any further attack on the state or its institutions. The army has accused Khan's party of pushing the country into civil war.
The perpetrators who take the law into their hands will be dealt with an iron hand. They will be punished according to the law and constitution.
Khan, who seeks early elections, has denied the charges, saying they are politically motivated. Throughout the day, a game of cat and mouse between the police and protesters continued on this main highway in the capital. The government has now called upon the army to maintain the law and order. Troops have also been deployed in KP and Punjab province. The political chaos only adds to the economic crisis. International rating agencies have warned that without the International Monetary Fund bailout, Pakistan could default in June. But for now, the focus is on bringing some semblance of calm to the streets of Pakistan. Kamran Yusuf, TRT World, Islamabad.
All right, so let's now go to the next video. 1 second. Let's go to the next video, and this is sort of breaking news, but not like this second, like it's like the second, but this is breaking news. So now we have the release. So we saw that the Supreme Court ordered his release, and we have footage of that release, and it was literally a couple of hours ago, not even 2 hours ago, that this was posted. So let's enlarge it and play it from the beginning here. It's him right here. So he has been released, but you see all the turmoil it caused. And let's see here. Let's bring up one last thing here. This wasn't it, but let's bring up one last thing. Yeah. This is crazy. So let's go to Let's just go to Pakistan. Let's see. Videos here. As we close out, here's one. I think we can close this. This has several different videos where we can just see some of the protests that happened because of this. Can I make this larger? Yeah. Let's go to the next one.
Dara babu se da apis hal le payunar sausu au da hal Dara babu se da apis hal le payunar sausu au da hal agamen kam chhal lagi to gore cherunar salada es school mukamal barbar au tabasho da es school hal le uswini taso Dalaga that's shuru dilaka
Man, lots going on. Lots going on. All right. I think we can end it there. Really, the article, since he's been released, the article is not, we don't need to read the article because the article stops up until his release. And now we are able to say after the protest, he has been released, and that this is all breaking. This is literally happening during the stream. The segment would have ended differently if this did not break. I would have gone over the article that would have been the latest. But since we have seen the latest, the Supreme Court decision and the subsequent release, we will end it there and go immediately to the final topic, and that is this: UPS workers to strike. And anywhere between, you'll see the number between 340,000 and 350,000. So some reports will say 340, and some other ones will say 350. So let's briefly read an update on the what's happening with the UPS strike. So let's listen, or let's read. United Postal Workers and the companies are in negotiations over a new contract. The workers, who are vital to the company's economy, often don't have time to return home for a full night of sleep, or are forced to rest in shelters because their pay is too low to afford a room. So let's read a couple of paragraphs of this article. And this is on the peoplesdispatch.org. This article link is in the description box if you would like to read the full article. We'll read part of it, but this is just to give us an update on what's happening with UPS. And let's read. United Parcel Service workers are gearing up for a potential strike as they hold contract negotiations with the company. Talks between the company and the union representing UPS workers, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, opened on April 17th. Teamsters, so that's coming up on a month away. Teamsters President Sean O'Brien says that the workers are ready to walk off the job if UPS fails to reach a deal on a strong contract before the current one expires on July 31st. Workers are demanding better pay, more full-time work, better job security, and an end to two-tier 22.4 job classification. The deeply unpopular 22.4 provision creates a lower paid tier of workers who essentially perform the same work as senior drivers, but for lower pay. The workers are also demanding an end to excessive overtime, better protection against company harassment, the elimination of driver-facing cameras, the protection from hot water. Drivers reported extreme temperatures inside their delivery trucks in posts that went viral last summer. And workers like 24-year-old Esteban Chavez have died due to extreme heat. Part-time America won't work. A strike may have a formidable impact. UPS workers move 6% of the U.S. GDP in their trucks every day. The last time UPS Teamsters went on strike was 1997, when 85,000 workers walked off the job in one of the largest strikes in U.S. history. The work stoppage cost the company U.S. dollars $850 million, despite only lasting 15 days. The U.S. has not seen a strike at this magnitude since. Today, after e-commerce has grown exponentially, UPS employs over 340,000 Teamsters who deliver over 6 billion packages every year. UPS workers were declared essential workers during the COVID pandemic due to their critical role in distributing goods throughout the country. If these workers were to strike, the effects would be astronomical. A potential strike is leverage in the tough negotiations over the contract and workers mobilizing in various parts of the country. In Canaries, Brooklyn, UPS Teamsters from local 804 rallied in front of UPS Customer Center on April 21st to build momentum. A crowd of 100 gathered while passing trucks honked in support. quote, in 97, I was a part-timer on strike, said Chris Williams, local 804 vice president, addressing the rally. Quote, the thing was, part-time America does not work. It still doesn't work, end quote. Part-time America won't work was a key slogan during the 1997 strike. The slogan highlighted resistance to UPS push to split stable full-time jobs into far more precarious part-time positions. The strike was successful, winning raises for workers in around 10,000 full-time jobs. Teamsters reiterated the slogan, part-time America won't work, several times at last week's rally because over 2 decades later, it remains relevant as unionized workers push for more full-time positions. And this will be the last paragraph. People's Dispatch spoke to Ronald Jeffries, a part-time worker from Brooklyn's East New York neighborhood. Jeffries works as a Wendy's because UPS does not provide him with enough hours to be able to survive off that job alone. UPS is meant to guarantee part-timers at least 3.5 hours each day, but Jeffrey says this is not always the case. Quote, they rather you get off the clock before that, end quote. So this is sort of the latest on what's happening. July 31st is the big day that we're all talking about. That's actually what we're looking towards for our next summit, is to be, part of, to sort of be scheduled to be in sync with the contract running out on the 31st, and there be another contract in place and having some sort of summit because of that. So that's what we're working on. So I did want to give an update, but we needed to give a backdrop on the labor part before I told you about that. So those are the stories today. I believe I hit them all. Let's see what some people are saying. I see Bad Cookies. I see Gamer for Life in the chat. What other regulars? I don't see regulars, but I do see some people. Oh, there's a regular. Mouse SF. Wishing you strength and success and solidarity. Thank you. You're doing that to another comrade in the comments. Awesome to see that. 2-tier means new hires get screwed. Right. Pay the newbies, the people who are eager to get work. We can pay them less because they're so eager than these people who've been around and who have worked out through unions. Better pay for people who have been there longer. No balls, UPS workers. They need to call Amazon and Target unions and make this bigger strike. Interesting. That actually would be a thing, something known as a general strike. Let's read this one. The company can't hire scabs if UPS and FedEx workers also go on strike at the same time. But that's against the law, and no union leader will risk 6-figure incomes for workers. Right. A lot of the union leaders are sold out, are sellouts. FedEx is their pilots. I think they're getting close to going on strike. I know for sure. FedEx is in a slightly different position because I don't know if all of their workforce of FedEx, but part of their workforce is governed by the Railway Act, which the Congress can force them back to work, and they know that. This is why this strike with UPS is so huge, because they're not covered by that. All 340,000 plus are not covered by the Railway Act. And the reason FedEx is covered by that, or part of their labor force is covered by that, is because they initially, when they opened as a business, I think they opened as an airline. Something to that effect. I can't remember exactly. So please see old segment. Did I read that whole thing? Yeah, I read that whole thing. My husband drives a brown truck. We are preparing for the long haul. And that's why somebody was speaking to Nihol. I think that's how you say it. Nihol. Yes. I love to see strikes. UPS guy. I'm assuming that you're saying you're a UPS guy. I recommend watching the Mad TV UPS. I remember those with that guy. He was always fidgety. He was like, yeah. He'd be like moving all the time. I remember that. Never gets old. Actually informative. Yeah, I remember that. A UPS guy or a UPS guy. I don't know. Solidarity with workers. And I believe that might be our last couple of comments here. All right, so like I said, there will not be a Sabby and JB show today. They're taking that day off. Let me actually put this in up here so you can see. Oh, actually, I already have it up. So they're taking the day off. And as we know, JB's going through the passing of his family members. So let's just keep him in our thoughts. He's dealing with that. And I do want to just quickly have you go to or bring up the documentary that Dan Cohen mentioned earlier in the stream about Haiti. This is it, another vision inside Haiti's uprising. It's he said it's 3 parts. They're all about an hour each, roughly a little bit less. But the link is in the description box if you want to go check it out. Let's play some it as our intro, as our outro, and I'll toss up any comments that I might see in the chat, and let's go ahead and share what I'm seeing here. Oh, actually, I'll just play it on the other screen. So let's play it and see part of the documentary as we exit stage left. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Us on the Revolutionary Blackout Network. Here is that documentary. Here's part of it. The link again is in the description.
Two centuries ago, the slaves of the French colony Saint-Domingue broke the chains of chattel slavery and colonialism. They called their new nation by its indigenous Arawak name, Haiti. The example and ideals of the Haitian revolutionaries spread throughout the hemisphere, leading over the next century and a half to liberation movements worldwide. Ever since that seminal revolution, North America and Europe have punished Haiti for its vanguard role through sanctions, dictatorships, coups d'etats, and invasions. Today, Haiti is a neo-colony of the United States, France, and Canada. Throughout it all, the Haitian people have resisted not only their subjugation, but the discrediting and vilification of their culture and fight for self-determination. This documentary series will push back against the disinformation deployed against Haiti and show how its so-called gang violence is in reality the continuation of a 200-year class struggle against exploitation and oppression.
One of Haiti's top gang leaders.
One of Haiti's most notorious.
Notorious,
most powerful gang leaders.
Jimmy Cherizier.
Known as Barbecue.
Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier.
His threats risk plunging Haiti into deeper chaos.
Qui est Barbecue? Monsieur Barbecue.
C'est un criminel.
Pays d'Haïti, il compris. Soit défendre cause monde. L'éternel va en face.
Jimmy Cherizier alias Barbecue, entrer la Kaimoun, il casse Kaimoun, il plie Kaimoun, il médifie Kaimoun. Problème qui avec nous. Il devrait guider nous non façon pour nous voler même jamais. Nous même nous disons nous pas besoin de voler. Parce que c'est pour l'école, c'est pour social. Problème qui c'est que il devrait nous entrer dans notre team Genève en famille.
Jimmy, how do you respond to these accusations?
Ba pral répondre et mon ka parler. Raison que fait pas répondre et c'est un petit monde réellement à côté que moi-même moi sorti dans réellement moi gen kay dans réellement son petit monde qui kon vinn côté me gen problème qui kon vinn demander m'cob que m'kon bail cob et jodi a m'a goumé contre un système et dans niveau goumé mié là m'a pas descendre pour mal répondre aux citoyens qui a fait menti contre moi. Nous gen bagay qui plus important que ça. Nous gon pays pour nous sauver. Tout ça c'est menti, c'est système là qui a cherché détruire parce que journée jodi a moi osé à dénoncer système ça.